to work, you draw the short straw and get to start the meeting. So here I go. Just our main goals today is to get some of these items on the agenda established. We want to elect a chair to the board and try and figure out our schedule and our fee, our banking information. We don't really know a lot. And so, and then of course, a lot of these items that you'll see on the agenda will get probably continued. They're just mainly kind of for us to be able to, these are the things that we want to get up to speed as, board members, an understanding of, and then of course get public comments. So whatever things that we need to work on for the district, we want to make sure that we understand. And I feel like with a couple of good Benjamin boys, we can hopefully have a better understanding of where some of that stuff is. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I think the first thing we need to do today is establish who the chair will be of this board. And I don't know how long that would currently, is it a 1-year type delegation, a 1 year? So for the next year, the chair, I would nominate Anthony Canto to be that.
I would second that.
Yeah. You okay with being the chair?
Yes.
This? Okay. Terrific. You don't have to wear a suit next meeting. You can.
I don't know. I thought the
Whatever you're
tie,
comfortable.
you just kind of naturally progressed to that.
I have another meeting. I didn't dress up for you. Sorry. Okay. Yes, we will. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So Anthony will serve as the chair.
And that would give him the responsibility for approvals outside.
Sign
Okay.
checks, approvals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chair the meeting. So
I'll be the contact on contracts, things like that.
Okay.
okay. Terrific.
So I understood that.
So we couldn't find any minutes from the last meetings. I don't know if so we really can't approve any minutes. So we will
Or go it.
forego that. Item number 1. Do we have any information on the billing services, maintenance, operation and maintenance of the district's drain systems, including what users are assessed? I mean, of course, you have your assessment
Yep.
that you've showed me.
So we do have an individual that currently sounds like working with the previous members of the board to assess the district, the individuals within the district. At this point, I don't think that we have the information we need to make any adjustments to that process, whether it be fees or anything. At this very moment, we don't know the linear distance of drains. We don't know the amount of landowners. We're still working out that information. So my proposal would be to leave things as status quo through the rest of this year at this point as we try to collect that information so it can be accurate, and then put out a notice to everybody if we're going to make any adjustments.
And that's Rex Galloway. And Rex is happy to continue.
Yep, I talked to him. That sounds like they were already in motion to send out the current assessments for November for next year. So that's kind of what's in motion.
I don't think we have time to make any adjustments. I think for this year, we have to stick with what we're doing.
I agree with that. Okay. Any other, I mean, as far as the billing and operations, I think we're still getting up to speed with monies and
Budget and everything.
Budget.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of information at this point. As you move into your next item, number 3, it also brings up the bank account. Still working with the previous members to get access to that account. Once I have the opportunity to get to that bank and hopefully work with those individuals, we'll have to do a sign sheet that will change that over. We'll be working with the attorney's office to make official note or memo to them so everybody understands what's occurring.
So Dale, would you prefer that we are striking items or saying continue, like the minutes, or 1, 2, and 3 items? Or just taking no action is okay? Just discussion?
Because they were simply listed as
Okay,
You
terrific.
don't have to take any action unless you want to.
Okay, understood.
And I think leaving things as they are, you know, Rex has been doing that. If he's going to continue to do it, I don't think we need a motion to say that. You
Great.
could if you wanted to.
Okay, nope, we're good. Just want to make sure I'm following the right protocol for the meeting. So then for invoices and current obligations and things will also tie into that. We'll get a better understanding for that, making sure that we're up to speed with invoices. Same with item 5. Codes, in regard to the district, it's my understanding, I mean, you know, getting voluntold that I can serve. Dale, do you want to help have a better understanding of who can serve on this, in this capacity?
Yes, yeah, I think that's one of the main problems we're having is board membership is actually limited to residency. You just can't own land. You have to be a resident in, well, and actually a registered voter. So you'd want to be a register. But those are the two requirements to sit on this board. However, if there are not enough applicants, as there were not, then the county can appoint one of our legislative council members, which would be you. And so that's why you served, and you would serve until another qualified board member is appointed.
And that application could be submitted at any time?
Yeah, really at any time, because Commissioner Gordon just sits,
Okay.
Until that is done. So yeah, I think it would kind of be an open thing until another resident stands up to sit on the board. You'll sit, and if that happens tomorrow or next month or next year, then we would replace you.
Okay. Anything else that we should know as far as the code? The state codes, Utah or county codes?
Yeah, well, yeah, there's actually a lot of things, beginning with what is the county's oversight of this board. It's actually a special district, which is independent of the county. However, the county does have certain obligations or duties, such as you sitting until another resident is qualified to sit. I'm going to be careful about the advice and the involvement I have. I'm not sure how much the county should be involved at this point, but because we basically have this situation where you're sitting and the county's being forced to step in, I'll stay here until the board is, I guess, constituted in a manner that they can run themselves. Yeah, so there are some concerns. There's a registration requirement with the lieutenant governors. There's some auditing type requirements that I don't know that they've been done. There's some training, there's bonds, there's insurance. There's several things that need to be brought up, but I think we'll just do that each meeting as we can address those. I think you're probably best at addressing the finances of the district first. The assessments, any kind of bills that are outstanding, make sure that's done first so that the district doesn't become bankrupt in the meantime. But until then, I think we operate as we have been.
And as far as the approval with the code, I want to make sure all the board members are on board with this. So we're going to treat approval of modifications to the facility as an administrative approval that'll come through the chair. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
So any approvals to the modification will have to come to the chair for approval.
So maybe, backing up to number 4 and 5, as far as finances, I know that we have, or the previous board members have set up kind of an agreement, a service agreement with an engineering firm. I think that they basically be giving advice to the board, and you'd be acting as the board to make that decision as those improvements occur within developments.
Now, while we are on code, we did have a conversation about if someone lives outside of the boundaries, they could do work or volunteer
Contractual-
contractual work, right?
Or as employees,
We could pay-
perhaps even volunteers of a district, you can do all of those.
We
type
could
of
pay a
things.
former board member $1 a year, knowing they're servicing
Absolutely. If
Right,
they're
and
providing
say-
a service to the district, you can pay for
because
that.
they want to
yes.
serve. So that's also something that
What would be the process to enact that, to hire that person?
That would require board approval. So that's something you would, the best thing to do, if it's a small contract, just go out and find somebody. But if it's going to be a substantial contract, we'd probably need to go through the procurement procedure,
And-
like any government
I was gonna
agency.
say, are we bound by the same procurement as
You
Utah
are.
County?
You
Okay.
are. Well, state law.
State law,
Yeah.
okay.
We
So
won't
similar.
It's similar. We won't use the county's procurement code, but state code provides all of that anyway.
Okay.
And you'd be subject to that. Unless you adopt your own, which some special districts have done, you're subject to state code until you adopt your own. And some of the like Soldier Summit has adopted our county procurement code because it's a little bit different, a little bit easier to operate under.
And Benjamin drainage is different than the cemetery. Is that my understanding? And the only reason I ask that is because like the county collects the fees and things like that. And
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's being done. A district like this or the cemetery district could contract with the county to do that. No problem. You just need to pay a nominal fee, such as the district would pay the county for use of this building during this meeting. So yeah, there's no problem with it. You just need to make sure that each entity is paying and receiving compensation for what they do, for the services rendered. So I'll look into that. I didn't know the cemetery was using the county for the assessment. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. We just need to make sure it's legal and it's being paid for.
gotcha.
Okay.
Any other questions on codes or things like that? Okay. Any questions on mapping right now, or is that something we get into?
I think the only thing that from, operation side, as I looked at this drainage, is to get it more accurate. And so if we could request the assistance of the county through GPSing some of those points, I think it would allow us to true up the mapping. I think the value to the county is then we could use it through community development. So I'm going to kind of switch both hats here for a second, but it would allow the ability as people get building permits to make sure that their homes aren't going to fall within these drains or fall on these drains. And if they are, they'd have to be aware that they're going to have to reroute them. So as development and other things occur, which we know is going to, I do see value for both the county and the district to have that mapped.
This may be something we need some advice from Dell on. I could do this work, and I can do it as the county surveyor if the county feels there's a benefit, like the planning and zoning type of issues. But I also have my own equipment, and I can do this personally on the side myself if the county doesn't think it's applicable across the board. If I did it as a county, I would also have to do it for Lake Shore District and whatever other district would require that. But it would be small amounts of work. It's not something that's really time consuming. So maybe that's something we also don't take any action on, and we decide. What's your thoughts?
You would look at both options, if you do it as the county surveyor, the county would have to be paid for that work. So you could figure out what the county would need to be paid for it. And then you can also look at private contracts, and you just compare those, and then as a board, bring those back and make a decision and vote on who you'd like to pay to do that.
So the one question I do have on this is the county maps the districts, the drains in all different kinds of capacities. So if I was to create that myself, could I give those points to the county to improve their system? Is there any contractual agreement that needs to happen that way? Or can I just go out personally, collect that data, and give it to the county to update their maps on GIS? Because cities and counties and everybody map these systems.
Yeah, so the county would have to decide if there's a county-related reason that we would need these maps. If there is, and we create them, and they're in our public system, then anyone can have access to that, including this drainage
Yeah,
board.
and they
Okay.
do.
Yeah. And I'm sure we've done that for many different entities. But as long as there's a county-related purpose for it.
Okay.
We're using, I represent community development. I think they would be interested in a drainage map, especially as we see all the development.
Yeah, we have a drainage map, we just have an inaccurate drainage map. So that's what I'm hoping we could improve the quality of the map, which would really help community development when building permits are being issued.
I agree with that.
Good. Okay. Item 8, discuss, approve, or deny past, current, or future contracts with Franson Engineering. I think you guys met with Franson.
Yeah, so I think the only thing that would be is there, and we might want to see if they'd come up and speak, but I think you'd send up a request for a fee change or assessment on the mapping. That sound right? Do you want to come up and talk to us, Kyle? Before we.
Yeah, Kyle Devaney with Franson Civil Engineers. So yes, we have been working with the previous board to do encroachment reviews and system modification reviews with the drainage district, and providing some construction observation and construction surveying previously. And so we have been providing some of these services, updating maps as developments come in, and correcting and trying to make those system maps more accurate in those areas where development is currently taking place. And so if the district decides to enact a way to some method to correct the maps as a system as a whole up front, that would cost additional time, services to make that map as accurate as possible. Understanding, of course, that it's the land drain system and we can only see specific points. And so Franson Civil could provide an estimate to go out, survey, update a GIS system map, and provide that information back to the district, and continue to update that map as development reviews come in.
And my understanding right now is I'll say service agreement the district has with you right now, you're not charging any fees. You're collecting those through the application process from the developers or whoever's doing the work.
Correct. Minor modification that these encroachment review fees go to Benjamin Drainage District, and then Franson Civil is paid for our time on the reviews and construction observation from the Benjamin Drainage District bank account. And so those fees are going to the district, and then Franson Civil as a contractor or a service provider is being paid for our services. And so no cost directly to the Benjamin Drainage District is supposed to be applied. These application review fees by state code, and correct me if I'm incorrect, but all of these fees and assessments and any impact to the drainage district should be covered by these developments that come in. So that is how we currently operate, and that's the standard quote.
Can you speak to the email regarding it looked like there was going to be an assessment to the district regarding mapping? Is that something that you'd sent?
Yes. So currently, Franson Civil Engineers has an online GIS program service, and we host online public data for the drainage district and the previous board members, operators, and interested public members. And so hosting that website information is currently hosted through our ArcGIS online service. And we create public maps, and based on our reviews with the Benjamin Drainage District, we update those maps, and that updated map information is currently online and available to the public. The hosting fees, we currently count part of that as our services that we provide for these reviews, and that is covered in the review fee and divvied out between developments. But currently, it's approximately $10 a month.
And then the flow on the modifications is the district takes the money from the property owner.
Correct.
Then you do the work, the district pays you for the work, and then anything that's left over from the application packet goes back to the property owner. And that's the correct flow.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the approval really does come from the district, not from Franson Engineering.
Correct, yes. The application is signed and delivered to the district. The agreement is signed by the district. Reviews are done with Franson Civil Engineers and a member of the district. And then construction observation. And then near the end of completion, bond releases and construction complete letters and final bond releases are all signed and approved by the drainage district. Franson Civil has currently no approval status. We only advise the district that we've gone out, reviewed it, and to the best of our knowledge, everything meets as the design standards that have been approved.
Is there anything out there like contractually between you and the Benjamin Drainage District that might have been executed over the last few years that you'd be able to send us?
Yes, so
Okay.
I have provided a professional services agreement and a work order to Anthony and to Glenn
Okay.
as well. And I believe you may have been
He
copied
was
on
yep.
that. Yeah.
It was
Everything-
yeah,
everything
that was
that we
all
got
that we
emailed.
have at this
Okay.
point. Yep.
Yep.
Everything we've got. Okay, terrific.
Yes, sir.
That answers my question then.
I think at this point, my recommendation would be to leave it as status quo. I don't see a big financial burden to the district to leave it the way it is.
Yeah, I do think, I agree with you, but I think by our next meeting, we need to determine whether or not an RFP process needs to be followed or not.
And I think that'll come down to what we adapt as far as whether procurement is followed by the state or the county or how we do that, so.
Yeah. But that gives us some time to figure that out for sure, which doesn't mean we wouldn't still go with you guys. We would just mean that we're following the law, which we would like to start doing.
Yep. Excellent. Thank
Appreciate
you,
that.
gentlemen.
Okay.
All right. Item 9, modifications to the existing pipe in the district, including what process is needed when a drain fails. Discuss, approve, or deny.
Well, this is gonna be a tough one, because this is gonna come down to finances, and we don't know where the finances are right now.
I guess the way I'd look at it is, yeah, we don't know where finances are, but as far as procedure, it would be, I'll say the impact. And what I mean is is it life threatening? Is it, what's it doing to determine the process? Because I can tell you right now, just taking a guess at the finances, we're not gonna be able to resolve all the issues that are before the board, the district at this point. But yeah, we probably need to come up with an appropriate process, so that
Okay.
maybe the amount
Are
of
you thinking
individuals.
like a request form kind of a thing? for
Yeah,
us to
I
look
think,
at
I
'em,
think
or
as we come aware of them, we should have them noted and then see, how many landowners or individuals are being affected, what's the effects, stuff like that, make note of that, and then determine it based on our budget, which we should be adopting a budget every year and making a recommendation, just like we do with the county, where we don't have enough money to do everything, but we should be probably making it public to us why we're doing what we're doing.
So anything that needs to be established right now about our process? I mean, I'm sure that when the drain fails.
Yeah, I think right now, I think what they've been doing is whatever, and this is what I've been informed, is if there's an immediate failure, they're trying to look at it and trying to fix it if they can. And I use the word if they can. I know that there's a couple out there right now that they're looking at. Because some of them cross the road, I can tell you if they cross the road, they work directly with Public Works, and the agreement has been not just with this district, but with irrigation companies that will assist them through crossings of roads. So that's what's going on as far as that goes.
Okay.
Is there any process that's been happening for potential failures? Or how do we know one's actually failed?
I think the water quits running and it floods them out. I don't think there's I'll say anything going out there as far as assessing. Nobody's going out there every year and assessing the drain and saying, okay, this one's working, this one's not working. I honestly think what's happening is it quit working and it floods somebody, and at that point it's brought to their attention. Or if somebody's out plowing and they find a soft spot and fall in or sink in, then they assess it that way. I'm pretty positive nobody's actively going out looking for issues.
Do we know historically how much pipe we have to dig up to find a failure?
No, when I, again, this is going off some of the information I found before, it depends. I usually look for sinkholes or depressions in the ground. They said typically they're replacing about 60 feet. It can be more sometimes, but typically in those depressions, they find that it's about 20 feet of area, but they usually replace 60 feet.
So as we continue on with this, Dell, is this another area we have to look at an RFP to have a contractor that is qualified to go out and replace drain lines, or what do you think the process should look like that way?
It all depends on efficiencies. If you think that would be more efficient to have someone on contract that you know what you're gonna pay, or if it happens infrequently enough, you can just find someone for each time it happens. It's kind of a financial efficiency type
Yeah,
decision policies.
I would say it would be that, but I would say in our interest, it would be better to have somebody that would be on standby kind of thing.
Yeah.
But again, that's something we're gonna have to look at as we figure out how much funds were available. So.
Okay. Anything else on that? Item 10, discuss any code violations within the district.
I mean, we're aware of some individuals that have doing work without submitting approval to the engineering firm at this point. So there are some issues that are being addressed. I assume at this point, but we've not taken any legal action or, I mean, here we are today, so do you want to speak to that?
So, as of the date today, currently there is one major encroachment that has happened on an open drain ditch. Several others that are smaller that have either built buildings recently on single-family residences on a larger piece of property over the top of land drains and such, but as far as France and Civil's involvement in those, what we have to do is our understanding of our contract with the Benjamin Drainage District is that we provide engineering review services and construction review services. We don't necessarily provide policing per se. If we do become aware in our standard activities of an encroachment, we provide information to the drainage district, and the drainage district is who continues on and proceeds to coordinate with those infractions.
So for instance, the one we're speaking about, I think is the same one, the open ditch that's being piped. You're aware of it. Have you evaluated it to see if what they're doing's going to be sufficient? Have you requested updated drawings?
So currently, we went out to the site, took photos, and documented the current site conditions. We looked at the previous drawings that developer had provided, and in our previous reviews, no application or drawings or plans had been submitted for that encroachment on that section of the system. And so we have sent the developer, the landowner, and correspondence to request updated plans, specifications, what their engineering review plans for that system to get that information back, and then we'll coordinate with the district going forward on potential impacts to the system and if there are any negative impacts to the system.
So Dell, if I'll say a stop work order was to be issued, what would be the process to an individual like this that's doing work that's not authorized or reviewed or approved?
Well, it's probably stopping damage to the system is the most important thing, and just stopping work until they provide the application fee and all of the engineering plans so that they can be reviewed and it can be done right. We have criminal enforcement. The sheriff can be sent out there to stop them if they're not voluntarily going to stop doing damage to the system. And then, of course, we have civil remedies where any damages that they have caused or continue to cause or future cause can all be recovered through a civil lawsuit.
Is there any that you feel need to be addressed or that we need to reach out to, or do you feel they're being?
Currently, my recommendation is that the system is not being negligently impacted, that if they are finding pipes and stuff, they are doing haphazard to good modifications to try to still continue to allow drainage water to flow through the system. However, relocating underground drain systems, of course, comes with its own legal easement issues and such. And so currently amicable communications of, hey, we need this, this, and this. Most of the time it is people are willing to follow through. However, when they find out that there is a review fee for engineering review portion of this, that is when Francis Civil kind of comes up against a roadblock to our abilities, where the district can have some enforcement on that.
And so do you share that information with the district? Is that what you do?
Yes, I do.
How often do you send that information out?
So usually it's a once or twice check-in kind of thing. Once we are made aware of the encroachment, gather the data together, send over an email to the district, and follow up with a phone conversation or stuff, answer any questions, and then eventually, after a month or so, the district comes back and says, hey, have you heard anything else from here? The district had gone out, had a phone or a conversation with the property owner, and they were supposed to follow through on something else, and usually they don't follow through, is what happens.
So from your engineering perspective, is there any that need an action taking, or do you think they're cooperating at this point?
Currently, I do have a list of 2 that will need some what's the legal right term for a little bit of strong handing?
Just a nudge.
Encouragement. There you go. Yes. So a little bit of encouragement from the district, who is the authority, since Francis Civil is only a contracted representative.
So I would assume we'd see that here pretty quick.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. That's all the questions I have.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
Discuss and approve or deny the fulfillment of positions on the board. I think we've kind of done that.
Yep.
We've got Anthony now serving as the chair. We kind of moved that, and then discussion and approve on item 12 or deny the membership in the Utah Association of Special Districts and payment of annual dues. Do we know if any of that's been done, or if?
Again, at this point, I've been working with the state auditor's office to try and get us up to date. They didn't say anything about any dues. We're delinquent because our finances haven't been filed appropriately, but we'll work through that process and get that done. But it does take time, so.
Okay. Anything on that, Anthony?
Nope.
Okay. And then the last thing on here before public comment is to set a date and a time. I had kind of thrown out that this ought to be, at least a quarterly type meeting. That would put us like into January, and typically kind of works best in people's minds to say, oh, it's always the third Monday type idea, or the Tuesday, or however, Does that make sense what I'm saying? Maybe like, say the third Tuesday of every month type thing, if we were looking at like a January 16th.
That would work for me.
That work for you, Glenn?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
January 16th, kind of same time for now.
Yeah, at this point.
We probably should establish the annual as well, right? We probably should say we're going to meet.
You might want to do that at your next meeting.
Okay, so for now, we'll do January 16th, and then let's lay out,
Yeah, and I would hope at that point
2024.
we'd be able to establish budget and everything at that point, so.
like, when your budget hearings and things like that would be, right?
9:30 in the morning.
Yeah, 9:30. So we'll establish.
Same location?
I believe so. Is that?
I would think so. I'm not sure where else you would meet. I guess if there were some type of facility like this in Benjamin, you could meet out there, but if you don't, I think this is probably the best backup.
I mean, I think
Every other district uses this as a backup anchor location, so.
we're not going to charge to use it. I hope. I hope. Am I speaking correctly? I mean, goodness sakes. Okay. Well, for now, let's do that. Okay. Anything else from the board? Okay. Now moves into our public comment period. Ask you to keep your comments to a few minutes, and we'd love to know if there's areas of failure and things. If there's something that maybe we don't know as a board, we'd ask that of you. And public comment, typically we don't interact, we just listen. But if you have questions, please also state your name if you're going to speak, so we have that on record.
Hello, I'm Darren Baum, a
Okay.
member of the district. So I have a few comments for you here. First off, let you know of a failed drain that services the block between 7300 and 7550 south, going from 3200 westward. There's 2 lines in that area. I know some of my neighbors and myself have sent information to the board members here, and that line is greatly impacting our homes there. This last winter, we spent a lot of time pumping water just to try to keep the water out of our houses. It was right up to our foundations. And I know it was a heavy water year. However, that is caused by a failed line. And that line was put in, from what I can find, about 50 years ago. And that type of line, from my research, nothing official, but the expectation of that line is a 30-year lifespan on that. So I'd like to encourage the board to make that a priority and try to get that fixed, because it does impact our homes, not just our farmlands, and also the farmlands. A lot of the crops drowned out and had to be reestablished, and more chemicals put on to keep the salts lower. Excuse me. My next comment would be your board membership and the number of people on your board. Right now, if we're following the laws here, if 2 of you are on a site, then that constitutes a quorum. And I feel like you need to either modify what constitutes a quorum, or I hate to put more people on a board because I think it's less effective, but I think we need to at least be able to have 2 members meet on site so we can show you some of these problems that we have, and you can get a firsthand look at it. And to have more than one of you there, I think that would be important. My third comment here is on your assessments and grants. If you don't raise the assessments this year, you're going to be even further behind than you have been in the past. And the farmers out there, they can't afford to pay a great assessment on the farmlands and try to make a profit or even break even. So my suggestion is that you have a minimum fee. Everybody pays a minimum of $100. That takes people with the smaller parcels that aren't trying to make a living off their land, and it will impact that. But I think everybody who has a home there could afford $100. My payment right now is only $35 on a 5 1/4 acre parcel. If you do the math on how many acres are down there, there isn't enough money to be able to take care of all the problems of a failing drain system that's probably over 100 years old, most of it. So I would like to see you, before you leave this meeting, come up with a better assessment that will help get us out of the hole where we're going to start off. And I think you need to greatly consider that. And seek out grant money. I mean, this district, it's not big enough for the residents to pay for all of that money. And I think there should be some grant money available, especially last year with the amount of flooding that we had. It's disappointing we didn't get on that last year and try to get some of that money that was available. Okay, and I'd like to comment on the county paying for mapping of our drains there. I think it's important and to the county for back to what Anthony was saying, that right now people get a building permit and they go down there. I built my house, I didn't even know there was a drain system. The county needs that map, and I think they should develop and have that map on hand, because now you have somebody start to build a house, dig a foundation, and if somebody on the board luckily drives by and sees that, then they'll stop and tell them, hey, you're too close to the drain. And as a result of that inefficiency and the county not mapping and having that map on hand, houses are being built, structures are being built where they shouldn't be, and then it's causing more problems to the drain system. So I think the county should pay for and have that map on hand. And if we pay for it as a drainage district, then the county should pay for it. They should reimburse us for it. But we shouldn't have to shoulder that load when it's a greater good for the building and development to have that. So you talked about there's not a yearly assessment. I think you should have on your agenda yearly, somebody should get around and at least check those observation ports. They're too far apart. Some of them have been covered over, but we shouldn't be reactive. We should be proactive. And I think you need to have an agenda there of somebody going around and at least looking in the observation ports that are available. Because right now you can look down the one in the line that I talked to you about in my first comment, and you can see the water's not flowing. It's built up and there's no water flowing. You can easily tell if a line is plugged to a certain extent if you at least would make a regular check of those lines. We need a district email. I don't know if you have one available, but we need one that we can send to the group and not have to individually, so everybody's getting the same information on your board. If you could establish that, that would be nice. The other thing that I think needs to be established is the short-term, long-term, midterm goals. You need to have some type of an agenda there. For example, this line that has failed for my neighborhood there should have been a long-term plan to know that the service life of that is about 30 years. And we should have been planning for that, seeking out funding for that. But if you don't have can't think of the term right now, but if you don't have a short-term, long-term, and midterm goals with that, then we're always going to be playing catch-up. And then also, I'm not sure if you're aware, but the state a few years ago came out with they did an evaluation on all special service districts. And at the end of that, they wrote a report, and that's available. And you can find that report if you contact the president of the special service districts in the state of Utah. He has all of we currently, I don't think we have bylaws. We need to get bylaws established. That would be another thing that needs to be worked on. But all of the bylaws and the rules to follow and all of that, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. That's all available through the state special service district. And that president has all that information, and it's online. You'll have access to it if you make contact with them, and I think it'll shorten a lot of your workload. But all right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
And that is one that we were aware of, by the way, because you had previously contacted us, so we appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah.
Scott Elliott, I'm a retired civil engineer, retired as of last January, so, and I happen to live in the same area where Darren and Brett are. And it is a problem. We see these sinkholes like you're talking about, Glenn. You can see that there's a problem with that drainage pipe. That drainage pipe, if I understand it right, is an ADS pipe, 4 to 6 inches diameter. It's a pipe like you would see come off of your rain gutters and go into that little pipe that they bury in the ground. It's very thin. Nowadays they put it in with rippers. Back in those days they didn't, because they didn't have that technology back in the time, nor the horsepower with the caterpillars to do it. But It's failing. It's long lived its lifetime of 30 years, as Darren has said. I agree with everything Darren mentioned, and I want to add one more thing to it. We definitely have problems with this drain, in particular the one that goes by our 5 or 6 homes that go along 7550 south there. But we've also got surface runoff problems. There was development along that road. I've been there for 28 years, and there used to be a drain ditch that used to run in front of my house and would go in a southwest direction. That whole flow in that area goes in a southwest direction, and then actually ends up going northwest down into Utah Lake through the drainage system. But when a development was made, the county oversaw the need for keeping that drainage ditch for surface runoff in. When I built my home, I put a little CMP culvert in so that it would flow through that ditch. All the farmers used to water, and it had all come to the southwest corner of the field, into that ditch, and run on past and down into what we call the brickyard. And then it'd go out of the brickyard and on down through this system. Now that has all been filled in because of these development clauses that was approved by the county. They never made any kind of an arrangements for this ditch to stay in by it, whether it be a pipe or whether it be an open ditch. Back in the day, it was an open ditch. That's causing us a lot of problems with our surface runoff too. So I thought I'd bring that to your attention as well. In my opinion, when we did the development clauses there, we should have put that infrastructure in, but we did not. So I wanted to bring that to your attention along with what Darren here had to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott.
Appreciate it.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
So, been motioned and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.